It's great to wake up again today with you guys. I was thinking about something right before I started. I was thinking teaching. I'm not a teacher. That's not my gift. And also, I'm not a leader. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I'm not really like a leader type personality. I follow Christ, and people sometimes follow with me. But so my husband has the gift of a teacher. But it's my privilege, though. That's what's so wonderful for me. This event is really like the model that Jesus had. That he said, come with me, and I will make you fishers of men. Now, Jesus, of course, was a perfect teacher. I mean, he was perfect in everything he did. But his model of teaching was to bring these salty men, regular men, alongside of him as he fished for men, as he told stories, as he taught, as he healed, as he preached, and people would learn from his example. And then, at the end of the day, his disciples could say, why did you say this? Or why didn't you say that? Or what did you mean when you said this? So we're having, this model is very much like the way Jesus did it. And I've always longed to see this more in the church, that the godly leaders would bring the people out like Jesus did and do practical works of sharing the gospel, and then, come back and talk about these things and pray over these things and fellowship and break bread together. So this is a dream of mine, that people would have a desire to follow Christ and would come along with us as we fish for men. And we learn from you, you learn from us, but I just consider it a great privilege and an honor to have this happening. And I know that you do bear with me. You see, I'm a woman with many faults and flaws, and I'm a lot of weaknesses, and I do this in the fear of the Lord. I just try to serve the Lord, and I want to serve you. But as I was thinking about a few things to teach about today, some things came up, and I thought some of these might be covered in the panel that we're going to have the last night. We thought we'd have some seasoned people who've been doing this for a while, which will probably be John and Scott and me, maybe Deanna too, sitting up in the front in a panel, and then you guys can ask us all the questions you have that haven't been covered. Randall just arrived. He's there early, the abortionist. The white truck is back, and the crazy lady and her daughter.
Oh, really? So it was a turn away yesterday, maybe, and then they're back.
Yeah, that's really weird. See, that's what's so
That's
great.
the crazy lady with the blonde short hair?
Right, the screaming.
Oh, that was
shrieking.
Oh, that, yeah.
So they might have turned away.
Well, her daughter looked pretty weak that last
She
time.
did.
She or something.
So you don't mean the lady in the big truck?
No.
No, lady.
The one that spewed.
Yeah.
I love the devil, and she was saying all kinds of crazy things.
But he said the white truck too, didn't he? Did he?
Yeah, I think she was driving a truck, but I think the other people had trucks too, I think.
Oh, she had a Maxima.
Yeah, she
Yeah, she had an Altima.
Because he says the crazy lady and her daughter.
Yeah, that's the Maxima. And then the white truck was the
Yeah,
two.
that's what I was thinking. I missed, that's the thing, you can see what happens there, that even though I've been there since 1996, you think, oh, I must have the pulse of the place. Well, of course, I haven't been there now for a couple of years. John's there. But even when you're there, and the Lord gives you discernment, and he helps you, there's so much going on there. And from day to day, the normal way to kill these late-term babies is they come, they are induced, there's no liminaria, that's another process that I haven't talked about. We can talk about it some other time. But normally they stay there the whole night and they don't leave. That's what it's been like for years. So to see that girl with her mother like that, in a state of weakness, have them leave and come back, that isn't even the way things go normally. So I don't even know what's going on. That's the reason why it's such a blessing to have people there as much as there are now. Because we can observe different things. You can't learn these things by studying or by coming to training. These are things that you learn from interacting with them, and really the visceral kind of stuff that goes on. The Lord teaches you, and you have to dig and find out, and then you research and you do all, and you call. And actually, that is one of the questions that came up. Jean brought up, can you tell us all about how you determine when they're killing babies and the process of calling? Like, how do you really do it? What do you ask? What's the process, And I thought, praise the Lord, I'm much better at responding to questions than I am just thinking of something to teach. So when you have questions, you can save them up. We don't cover something, we don't have the time to cover it. Write them down and bring it in. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to find someone who does, or I'll try to figure it out. But this is an issue I am very serious about. I do believe I would like to admonish you to prayerfully go before the Lord, and you women before your husbands. It is very important, if you really believe that you want to obey the command of God to love your neighbor as yourself and practice pure and undefiled religion and visit the orphans in their affliction, and your goal is actually to be in a place to intervene to save babies when they're being murdered by abortion, then you have to know when they're murdering babies by abortion. And you know, you can walk up to the building and see the hours. You can look on the website and see the hours. The hours that are on their website are not the hours when they kill babies. They're just the hours they're open. Some killing places only kill babies and they don't do any other kind of services. One of the killing places that we minister at in Raleigh is called a Preferred Women's, and they have a bunch of killing places. Now, I found this out. I don't know everything before I go somewhere. I try to do a little bit of research, but sometimes it's last minute and I go trusting the Lord. So we have been ministering there for a while. And someone came along and they said, oh, we're Christians too. We would never have an abortion. Believe me, we would never do that. This is my daughter. She has a medical issue where she needs to take birth control pills for something, you know, I forget what she said. So I wasn't really sure, because, you know, I didn't really know if she might be telling the truth, but I just went, what I do is I go right into, you know, children are made in the image and likeness of God. So when someone becomes pregnant, I still say it, just because I don't know whether they're lying. Plus, who wouldn't want to talk about that? It's like my favorite subject anyway. I mean, we're made in the image and likeness of God. I want to talk about it. I want to tell people. I want to make sure everyone knows that we're all made in God's image, and that's why we're valuable, and that God says you shall not murder. And, you know, so, and the daughter looked like, she was like, and I said, of course, sexual immorality is a very serious, I went into the sexual immorality, and the daughter was like, she just couldn't believe I was talking about all these things. And the mother was like, oh yeah, no, we're not here for that, believe me. So I gave her all the material. They took all the material, because of course they're saying, sure, we'll take it, because we're not even here for that. I said, yeah, take it and look through it. It's wonderful material. It's just true, and you can give it to someone who is pregnant. Gave it to him, and then I immediately called. I stood up, you can call right from standing in front of there. I mean, like, come on, it's so great, you can just get this information. I called, I said, I'd like to come in to just get birth control pills. And the lady said, well, we don't do that.
Oh, wow.
We only do procedures here. So I didn't even know that until right the moment. So lots of what I learn, and maybe you're like me, is from doing it. And also I want to let that kind of set you free a little bit. You don't have to know everything. A lot of what you learn is going to be driven by what you need to know. You don't need to know everything. And don't be sorry if you don't know something. That's the impetus the Lord can use to help you learn. You want to be lifelong learners. You're going to keep learning. But, so anyway, the calls are really important. And I'm going to address this in a shallow way, and if we feel like we need to explore it more, maybe we can. I'd let the men maybe address some of the issues of lying. And, you know, there are examples in the Bible when people lied and God honored their lies. The midwives protected the Moses, and they didn't kill him like they were supposed to when he was born. And then they lied about it. And so, was that wrong? Was that sin when they did that? I mean, to protect an innocent person from harm, to love your neighbor as yourself, is the higher law, the golden rule. And if you don't believe that a baby's worth protecting, that their life is equally valuable to yours, if you don't believe that people who hid Jews in their house should have lied when the Nazis came knocking on the door, you're going to have trouble calling an abortuary and lying. I have no problem with it. I don't have my besetting sin or sins that do not include lying. That just wasn't ever a problem for me. As a matter of fact, I think you can tell. I tell the truth when people don't want to hear it, rather than lie. And I've been like that my whole life. So that's not an area of particular weakness for me. I have met brethren who said that is an area of weakness for me. I tend to exaggerate. The Lord's sanctifying me, and I've come a long way. But that's something that's like an alcoholic. I can't take the first drink. I can't say any lies. Or people will say, when I go before people and I take them through the law, and I ask them if they've ever told a lie, if I myself am guilty of that same lie, I don't feel like I can be God's witness at that moment. I feel like it taints my witness. Even though they might never know, but just for their own soul, they can't do it. They would violate their conscience to call and lie. And I'm not going to tell a person that that's wrong, because their conscience is bound by the Word of God, the Spirit of God. They're the Lord's servant. The Lord will take care of them. But I do want to let you know that if your goal is, as I said, to visit the orphans in their affliction, you will have to call. Someone will have to call. Now, there are some creative ways. I know some people have found creative ways to call without lying. I have not practiced that, so I'm not really going to be able to address that. Maybe some other people can tell me things they've done. So I can't really address that too much, except you can call and say, when are procedures done? But if they ask you, when was your last period, then are you going to lie or not? So you're going to probably get to a place where you'll have to lie. Or what's your name? What's your telephone number? What year were you born? They may ask you these questions. Are you prepared to lie on all these matters? So it is a matter of conscience. But this is what I believe that you need to prayerfully consider before the Lord and before your husbands. And if you don't have a husband, then before older brothers in the Lord, or the people that you kind of submit to as spiritual authorities. You need, wherever you live, if you want to get started, if you have not really been witnessing at this killing place, if you're considering different killing places, maybe that we have many here in Orlando, but if you're in a place where, it's an hour here and it's an hour there, you could go to any one. And you have certain periods of time. If you have a day that you can witness, you can call the abortion clinic and you can try to get an appointment to kill your baby on that specific day that you're free. If that's the only day you have free, that's the only day you really need to know. But if you're kind of open and you just want to know when all they kill babies, and you want to try and figure out when you could go, maybe you can go at different days, different weeks. You literally can call the abortuary and say, hi, I want to make an appointment for an abortion. And they'll say, okay, well, they might say, okay, what kind of abortion? And if you want to know all about the kind of ways they kill babies where you're calling, say, well, I'm not really sure what kind of abortions are. You can ask any question. That's how I learned a lot of stuff, by calling the abortuaries and asking I said, I'm a detailed person, I'm sorry, but I have to ask a lot of questions to feel comfortable about something. So you ask them everything you ever want to know, and then say, what was your name again? Can I call you back if I think of something else? Call them back later and ask them everything. Record the conversation if you know how to do that. I always forget to do that. But you can do that with your phone. And these are things you can share with others, which is pretty shocking, the things that these people are going to say to you. And they'll answer your questions. Now, they might get a little irritated with you. They're totally depraved murderers. And so these are not, the cream of the crop people that you're talking to. I'm not saying they're going to tell you everything. Honestly, some of the things, if you really press them, they might be a little dishonest, but you're going to be shocked how much they will tell you and how straightforward they'll be about it. They're like, yeah, this is the way it is, and what do you expect? I mean, they'll tell you stuff. So I can't tell you how much you will learn if you can get to the point where you can call these killing places. It's incredible. So you have to be ready to say whatever you want to say. If you want to find out when they kill baby, let's say you just want to keep it straight, you only have 10 minutes. You can do this in 2 minutes. But if you just have a minute, you just want to kind of get your grasp of something, you call and just say, I'm 6 weeks pregnant, or you can, if they say, when was your last period? If you say, I don't know how to tell how many weeks pregnant I am. That's what I usually do, and then I don't have to think too much about all the other stuff. I just give them my last period. And you can count back, let's say you want it to be like 6 or 7 weeks or something. So you give them the last period. She said, okay, this much, it's going to cost this much. Say, okay, I just want the surgical, I want to get it over with. You can ask any details of that, and then say, okay, which days could I come? I'm coming next week, I have next week. And I have the whole week off. So can you give me all the times that I might be able to come in? Because I have a friend who needs to know, so that her boss is going to make up her schedule, and she has to take, I make it so that I give them a real good reason why they need to give me every single killing time for the whole week. And honestly, you can usually get all the times in like a minute. They'll tell you everything. Like, what? They don't care. You're a customer. You're going to pay them something. That's why they work there. So then I say, if they say we do the procedures on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, let's say they say, So, okay, what's the earliest possible time I can come on Monday? They'll tell you. And say, okay, what's the latest possible time? They'll tell you. And then go to the next day. So now you know exactly when the first woman who wants to kill her baby that day is going to come. And you know exactly when the last possible time that someone could kill their baby is. Sometimes it's all at one time. Orlando Women's Center, they kill babies all at once. The babies today are all killed at 1 o'clock. And you can see how long it takes them to kill the baby. But Randall's already there, so as soon as the women arrive at 1 o'clock today, he's going to start killing their babies, and it'll be quicker than it is when the abortionist doesn't arrive for hours. It's a 4 to 6 hour time usually where they're killing their babies that are not late-term abortions. So 4 to 6 hours could be 7 or 8 if they're a very busy abortuary. So if it's just one time, well, there you go. My recommendation after many years is if you only have a couple of hours, and at this point in your life, that's all you can donate to this is a couple of hours on one day, then my rule of thumb has become arrive 45 minutes before the first killing time. People are like, well, I don't think you need to arrive. That's early. Well, all right. Then you don't trust the person who's been there 20 years. It's crazy. I mean, I've been there 20 years. Get there 45 minutes ahead of time. Sometimes I get there 45 minutes ahead of time and there's 2 cars in the parking lot. I could have been talking to him for God knows how long. I could have been talking to him for 20 minutes. So I'm even giving you a leeway. You can come earlier than that, and I don't think you'd be sorry. Because not only would you catch every single woman who's coming in at that time from out of state and all places. Sometimes they don't know where they're going, they're scoping it out. When Orlando Women's Center first opened, I learned so much from Ministry Women because it's such a notorious killing place. He had unbelievable advertisement, and people came from all over the world to kill their babies there because he was killing them through all 9 months of pregnancy. So they were flying in from everywhere, they were coming from all the different states. And so I learned, wow, people can come from, they've never been here before. We don't have the 24-hour thing, so they wouldn't have come the day before anytime. Raleigh, lots of them come from 2 hours away. And this is the 2nd or 3rd day they've come. But they still come from far away, so they have to kind of time it. Because when someone really wants to kill their baby, they really want to get there in time. Because they want the baby dead. So they come sometimes real early. And if you come and the doors are not open, like first thing in the morning, then they can't even get in. They're stuck outside with you. I mean, this is a time when you have to talk to them with nobody else around. And the doors aren't open and they can't go anywhere. Now, they could go and get something to drink. Sometimes they will drive away when you start talking to them. But my goodness, it's great to really know exactly when the first killing time is. Then, my rule of thumb is then stay for at least, and this is like the least, 30 minutes after the last killing time. Then you know, in your conscience, you visited all the orphans in their affliction. You've engaged every single aborting woman, and every single child in the womb has been visited. There could be someone showing up a little later than that. And there's plenty of opportunity for ministry after that. You could stay. John's recommendation is stay the whole day, every day, all day. What a beautiful way the Lord has raised up this guy to be this missionary for this parish, and he set him in a place where God's providing for him so that he can be there all that time. Many of us are women, we have families, or we have jobs. Many of the people that I've ministered with have full-time jobs. So they have a limit when they can be there. And we have children, some have nursing children and babies in their arms and babies in carriages. And I remind John about that. I'm like, John, it's just not everybody has that. I mean, his own wife doesn't feel that calling. So it's like you can't say everyone can do it. So, but I think if you have just that amount of time, then that would be my rule of thumb. Now, it is very hard when they kill babies all day. Now, I will tell you, I've called probably 100 abortuaries to get times, because I'll let you know, I'm going to throw this out, but it can't be forever. But I feel that one of the ways that God gives me to come alongside people who want to start doing this is to offer to try and obtain the times for them. They're like, I can't even imagine calling. I picked up the phone, I felt sick, I couldn't even talk, and then they asked me a question, I hung up. I mean, they can't do it. Or I don't think I ever can do it because I feel like it's lying, but they don't mind my lying. But it's like, okay. But I'm like, I didn't do it at first either. People did it for me. And Jesus the same. I mean, I always go back to the model how Jesus did it. He didn't say, okay, come out with me. I'm not gonna teach you how to fish for men. Fish for men, right? I'm gonna just do it. No, he was like, come with me. I'll make you fishers of men. How do you do it? He did it. And so I really believe we need to come alongside. And Starla helps me. Deanna helps me. I have several other sisters that help me. So I send the word out, and Heather helps me too. And because sometimes it takes a lot of calls. I just made it sound real easy because usually it's that easy. I'm not exaggerating. It takes you 1 minute. You can get all the killing times in a place for the whole week in one call. But sometimes they're a little more tight-lipped. Planned Parenthood notoriously is a pain to get times from. Their whole system, and I'm struck by this every time I call Planned Parenthood, it's so hard to get an appointment there. For a person, if I wanted to really kill my baby, I'd be frustrated with that dang place. They've got call centers for this, and well, where is this? Well, this, and then sometimes they're not even open. And then they're like, well, that isn't how we do it here. It depends on how many people come in that day. Right now, we only have one time. But, so then you have to say, all right, well, how about 2 weeks from now? I mean, which sounds a little weird if you want to kill your baby. But you can pull it off if you just relax, because they're not really suspicious of you most of the time. But Planned Parenthood does, so those of you who are going to minister at Planned Parenthood, I'm going to say to you, those are the worst ones to call, and they are hard to get times for. But most of the other ones are real easy. So if they kill babies all day, which sometimes happens, that the earliest appointment will be at 8 and the last appointment will be at 2 or something like that. I realize you may not be able to stay the whole day. I'm a morning person, and I like to be there before everybody comes. The other reason I want to be there, I want to be the first person there, is because I want to be able to visit all the babies. That's my first thing, but my other thing is I want to put my feet in this place. Wherever we step will be holy ground. I want the Lord to help settle me and establish me. And when I'm going to a new killing place especially, I don't want to have a lot of things going on when I first arrive. Because I've been doing this 20 years, and when I go to killing places, I feel the same way today that I felt for 20 years. I feel a little sick. And I feel a little unsettled and uncomfortable and a little scared and a little nervous. It's happened to me the whole time I've been ministering. I never lost that. So, since you're dealing with a lot of spiritual warfare, a lot of emotional turmoil, and I like to get there, if I can, maybe a little bit before everybody comes. And that way, I have some materials to take out, but like I told you, you don't have to have all those materials, but if you do, I like to take them out. It's kind of, there's a process by which I settle myself in this new territory, or old territory. I set up things, I like to get there, continuing to add. Now I've been praying all night, and I fast lots of times in the mornings, not always, but I fast sometimes before I go, so I've been praying before. Don't wait till you get there to pray. Just say that right now. That's not really the time to pray. Like, in other words, you should be completely prayed up before you ever get there, and then pray always, while you're talking to someone. There's ways, I don't know, maybe men, I don't know whether men can do it, but us women, we kind of do all these different things when we're speaking to our husbands and our children. Lord, help me. As I'm saying these words, I want this to be from you. Jesus, help me. I mean, I intercede, I pray while I'm ministering. Actually, some of my best prayers are when I'm in the middle of the battle. And I pray better when I have something, it's kind of the same thing as I can teach better when someone's asking me questions than I can when I'm just like, okay, Lord, what do I pray about now? I have many things to pray about when I'm out there, and I feel like I'm desperate for the Holy Spirit. So, but that's something to think about. But you settle yourself in. You put up your signs, your baby models. But sometimes I get there, and I usually, just to let you know, this is just a practical thing. I actually usually strap on my little apron. I have a little. This is what I did over the years. Everybody does different things, but I found this to be real helpful. Those waitress aprons. And I've experimented with different kinds. I'd actually like clear ones, but I've never found a clear one yet. Maybe someone will make one for me someday, but I'd like to, because I'm a visual person, so I like to see what I'm reaching for, but I've gotten used to where I keep things now. But I strap my apron on before I leave my home. The night before, I put all my ministry materials in the car, all my signs. I charge up my amp beforehand. I mean, as much as far as possible, I try to be at peace in the morning so that all the churning that's in my soul is not going to interfere with my getting ready. So I pray all night. Lord wakes me up usually several times a night. I pray for the women I'm going to meet. I pray for the Lord to use me. So I have this strap, and since I've had an amp, I've just started using this wonderful amp, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. I even put that on in the car lots of times. Because when I get out of the car, even though I've come early enough, I hope to have a little time to settle in. Like I said, sometimes there's 2 cars there already. And so I immediately, as soon as I get there, I go to OWC. I usually go to the back because that's where they're parked. And then I begin to minister, and I don't take any of my stuff out. I don't get all freaked out that I don't take anything out. But my materials are already in my thing, see, so I have my materials, or I have them in my hand.